happens to be taking place a week or so after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which has been a big focus of this morning's questions.
Yeah, and at a time when FBI Director Kash Patel has been under some scrutiny, certainly from people on the left, but also from circles on the right, about how he handled the Charlie Kirk assassination investigation and the manhunt. He came right out of the gate, even in his opening statement, defending his own actions, defending posting to social media that they had apprehended persons of interest. He said that he was committed to transparency and that those moves were simply just his honoring the commitment that he has made to the country. Again, some of that, though, under criticism from Democrats. There was also quite a bit of criticism about politicization within the FBI and some high-profile firings from people, including the former acting director, who are now filing suit against the FBI for wrongful termination. Some say that they were simply fired for being involved in investigations when it came to January 6th or being assigned to cases of then former President Trump during the Biden administration. So just going to play one exchange here between the top-ranking Democrat on the committee, Dick Durbin, and Kash Patel, focused on that very topic.
It appears that you terminated these two agents. Why?
I'm not going to get into personnel decisions that we made.
So you're not accountable for your decisions to take people who served our country so admirably and terminate them without any cause?
That's a one-sided story. Anyone that has been terminated from the FBI, generally speaking, failed to meet the needs of the FBI and uphold their constitutional duties. And you providing a one-sided story from your perch is absolutely disgraceful, because the men and women of the FBI deserve better.
You ready, Chris? Okay, and there were a couple of exchanges also on the Epstein case, and we expected that from Democrats. There were some Republicans as well, though, who brought up some serious questions, and one of them actually Senator John Kennedy, who is behind us now taking some questions. So I want to see if we can just join in here live. I'm going to get as close to him as I can here.
Well, in a situation like that, you try to balance transparency with being careful and not revealing information that is not true. And sometimes if you err on the side of transparency, as I think the director did, sometimes you make mistakes. It didn't hurt the result. I mean, they caught the guy within 33 hours. I was pretty damn impressed.
Senator, you asked whether anyone other than Jeffrey Epstein had trafficked young girls to them. And I'm just wondering if you were surprised by the director's response. He said they don't have evidence they can share that there is anyone else other than Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, I wouldn't characterize my response as being surprised, because I don't know. I haven't seen the Epstein files. The facts, I think, indicate that President Trump has turned the issue of the release of the files over to the Department of Justice, which of course includes the FBI, and they have decided to release them piecemeal through a House committee. That's their call. What the point I was trying to make with the director today is, number one, this issue is not going away. Number two, they need to release all the files that they can. And number three, if there are court orders preventing them from releasing files, they need to go back and back and back and ask for permission to release them and appeal if necessary. Why? Why is that important? Because the American people want to know, and this is the central issue: who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself? And if there were other people, why weren't they prosecuted? That's a very fair question. The American people are entitled to a definitive answer to that.
Are you led to believe that there were other people who were left out?
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen the files. I can't answer that.
Do you think the director is doing enough to acknowledge the mistakes that the FBI and the DOJ made in the early months of this Epstein saga in the administration?
The director talked about it a little bit today, and I gather he's not.
I'm going to pull away, guys, if you can still hear me. Chris, let's back up here a little bit, and we'll get away from the gaggle. So that was, interestingly, that's Republican Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, again, asking about the Epstein files. It's just one of the many topics that Kash Patel has been asked about today. We talked about already that the assassination investigation, Charlie Kirk, really took up a lot of the oxygen in the room at the beginning of the hearing. And we mentioned that Patel had defended his handling and the FBI's handling. I also want to mention that Patel has also touted arrest numbers of drug traffickers, of human traffickers under his tenure at the FBI, something that he has touted here as well. And while certainly there are several Democrats in that room right now that are incredibly critical of FBI Director Patel, and some Republicans, as you just heard, asking some tough questions, there are several other Republicans that say they still very much have faith in the director. Among those, we would include President Trump, who just a couple of days ago stood firm behind his FBI director and believes that Kash Patel, he says, is doing a good job here. So we're going to continue to monitor this hearing and just bring you the updates as they come, as question by question senators get their chance at the FBI director at what is a pretty critical time in the life of the Bureau.
The president also, again, endorsing Kash Patel and the work he's done before he departed for the UK this morning. Joe, real quick before I let you go, how has the director responded to questions, some from Democrats, mostly from Democrats, about firings within the FBI and whether or not they were politically motivated?
Yeah, he's not saying much. He says that in terms of personnel matters, they don't want to give away details. What Democrats have alleged is that, again, this has been entirely political, that people who worked on the Trump case were fired simply for working on it. We've heard that the top Democrat here asking him about hooking people up to lie detector tests and asking whether they may be loyal to the FBI director. And Patel did not say one way or another whether that was true. He just simply said that, again, they don't ask about personnel matters, or he can't talk about those, but he did continue to say that polygraph tests are a regular part of what the FBI has been doing for years. So in that sense, he didn't disavow the actual use of polygraphs, but there's certainly a lot of contention in that room based on that specific issue. Several other senators have brought up the fact that because they've fired so many FBI agents, there are now vacancies at the agency, which is also something that Patel acknowledged, saying that they're trying to solve that problem and change the sort of recruiting standards that they have had in order to try to fill some of those positions.
An interesting exchange. I caught that one too. All right, Joe, we'll let you continue to listen in and we'll check back shortly. Joining us now, NewsNation.